Today I want to share with you in detail what exactly is a Four Corners Pantry. Hi sweet friends, I'm Mary from marysnest.com and author of the Modern Pioneer Cookbook, and welcome to my kitchen. Well, over the last few months, we've had over 40,000 people join us on this traditional foods journey. And the first thing I want to say to all of you is welcome. We're so glad that you're here. But I know that I use a variety of terms, one of which is the Four Corners Pantry, that may be new to you. So I wanted to make this video for you where I specifically go through the Four Corners Pantry, all the corners and all the different, in essence, sub-pantries, so that you have a very clear vision of exactly what I mean every time I say the Four Corners Pantry. Well, on a very basic level, the Four Corners Pantry refers to the four areas where we as traditional foods cooks store food. The first corner is the working pantry. The second corner is the refrigerator. The third corner is the freezer. And the fourth corner is the extended pantry, or what we sometimes nickname the prepper pantry. The working pantry is usually a cabinet or a closet that's in our kitchen where we store non-perishable foods that we access on a daily basis, or a somewhat daily basis. Whenever we're making a meal, we can open that pantry and we have all the various non-perishable foods like pasta and rice, maybe some canned goods, spices, so on and so forth. All the non-perishable foods that we need to make our traditional foods meals. The refrigerator, as the name implies, usually holds all the foods that need to be refrigerated. And in a traditional foods kitchen, in many cases, these are the fresh foods we like to have on hand, like eggs. The refrigerator is also a really great place to store our fermented foods. The top shelf of the refrigerator or the door of our refrigerator generally has that sweet spot temperature that fermented foods, once they've been fermented and need to be refrigerated, that's the sweet spot on that top shelf or the door is a place where they like to hang out. We may also have our butter in there, our homemade mayonnaise, our homemade cheeses, whatever needs to be refrigerated. And the same goes for the freezer. It's where we store our foods that need to be frozen, whether those are the meats that we've either purchased from a local rancher or the grocery store or the farmer's market, or for those people who are hunters and are able to have a nice large supply of food. That's all going to be in the freezer. The fourth corner, or the extended pantry, the prepper pantry, is where we go into a lot of detail. And the reason is the extended pantry has multiple sub-pantries contained within it. Our extended pantry has the backup pantry, it has the emergency pantry, it also has the survival pantry, and it contains the healing pantry. And I'm going to go over each one of those in detail. But before I cover those in detail, what I want to share with you is an answer, in essence, to a question that I get a lot. People will say, wow, Mary, the working pantry, the refrigerator, the freezer, and then the extended pantry, all of this takes space. Where the heck am I going to find space for all this stuff? The good news is, and I will share this down the road with you in visuals, so to speak, but the first thing I wanted to do here in today's video was to just give a verbal overview, a verbal explanation of all of this. But what I want you to know is that I don't have some big extended pantry. I have to find places best I can in my home. I have an older home, so I have places in a coat closet that I store things. I have places in my laundry room that I store things. I have places in my living room, even underneath my coffee table, where I store things. What I want you to know is when it comes to the extended pantry, you have a lot of options. Sometimes you just need to be a little creative. And for your working pantry, that main pantry, because sometimes we are a little limited by whatever size refrigerator or freezer we have, and maybe some of us have an extra freezer. I don't, but well, I do have an extra refrigerator, but not a specific freezer. But I know some of us do, and that's a very nice option. But for the most part, we are somewhat limited in terms of refrigerator and freezer space. But when it comes to the working pantry, again, I just have a small closet. You might have just a small closet too, or maybe you have a beautiful big walk-in pantry. That's my dream. You might just have a cabinet or a cupboard. And so sometimes with the working pantry and with the extended pantry, the pantries where we store our non-perishable foods, sometimes we need to just be a little creative. And we'll talk about that more in detail down the line, but just suffice it to say for now, start thinking about different places that may be available to you to store your non-perishable foods. So let's take a minute and talk about the backup pantry. This is sort of the first sub-corner, so to speak, of your extended or prepper pantry. The backup pantry is where you store all your non-perishable foods that you need to access to restock your working pantry. Now, why do we want to have this backup pantry? The reason we want to have this backup pantry is so that we can have extra food for a variety of reasons. Maybe you're sick and you can't get to the grocery store, and maybe the food in your working pantry is running low. Maybe you've lost your job and your budget is really tight. Knowing that you've got some extra food in your extended pantry can be a lifesaver. Maybe there's bad weather and you just can't get out to the grocery store. Maybe there are things like we went through in 2020 and there's limited availability to get into a grocery store. Or maybe there are supply chain shortages. There's so many reasons as to why we want to have a backup pantry. But one of the best reasons is that it allows you to buy things in quantity when they're on sale or just available to you. So if you know you use a lot of a particular item and you see it on sale, that's a great time to pick up 2 or 3 extra and then store them in your backup pantry. So say you use a lot of rice. You buy a couple of extra packages of rice, and then you have that in your backup pantry when you may be running low in your working pantry. Now, I want to mention something about the backup pantry, because I get a lot of questions on how to store all this food that you may be adding to your backup pantry. Now, certainly things like canned foods, all the prepackaged foods, they don't really need that much attention other than the fact that they're kept in a cool, dry, generally darker place to keep the food fresh. But what about the whole grains and the rice and things like that? That is why I have a very detailed video for you, which I'll be sure to link in the description below, where I go over all the various food storage options that are available to you today to make the most of being able to store your food to keep it as fresh as possible. So be sure to check out that video. But that's what the backup pantry is for. So think of it as the place where you're storing the various extra foods that you use on a regular basis, so that if your working pantry, for whatever reason, runs low on food, you can go shop, in essence, your backup pantry to restock your working pantry. The next sub-pantry of your extended or prepper pantry is your emergency pantry. Your emergency pantry is an area in your extended pantry that you basically want to carve out, in essence, where you can store 2 weeks of non-perishable food that you are able to prepare in the event that you are basically stranded in your home for whatever reasons, normally bad weather, but you're in your home and you've not been evacuated, but you don't have electricity and you don't have clean running water. So you want to have 2 weeks of emergency food that can be prepared without electricity and without clean running water. Now, I don't want you to worry because I have prepared a very detailed video, actually a number of videos, and I've curated them into a playlist for you where you can learn exactly how to do this. Plus, I have a download for you, and it's completely free, no email required. This I recommend that you print out, because what I've done is I've prepared a shopping list for you for all the foods that I recommend that you keep on hand in this 2-week emergency pantry. But even better than that, I have a meal plan for you that shows you how to use those foods to then be able to prepare meals without electricity and without clean running water, so that you can be able to feed yourself and your family for a 2-week period. So be sure to check the links in the description below. I'll have the playlist and the downloads available for you there. You can just click the link and it'll take you right to where you need to be. The reason that I tell you to print out this information is because, number one, yes, the grocery list of the foods that I tell you for the emergency pantry, yes, you could keep that on your phone. But I highly recommend that you print out the meal plans and put those in the box with the foods that you've decided to buy and put into your emergency pantry. This way you have the meal plan right there with the emergency food, so that you don't have to think under emergency situations how to prepare these meals. I walk you through step by step by step. So I recommend that you have everything you need in your box in terms of the non-perishable foods. And I also recommend that you keep everything you're going to need in the box or boxes for how you're going to have to prepare these foods. Sometimes simple things just like a can opener, because sometimes we can forget about a manual can opener. And then have your meal plan. And I walk you through the menus for each day and how to prepare everything. So print that out, put that in your emergency pantry box. Plus, in that curated playlist, I also talk about a lot of equipment that I recommend that you also keep on hand for emergencies. Because often, as I refer to myself as the chief cook and bottle washer of the family, often those of us who are the home cook, who are the traditional foods home cook, we're often responsible for making sure that we have coolers and various other things that we're going to need in the event of an emergency. So that's it. Sub-pantry number 2 of the extended pantry, the emergency pantry. The third sub-pantry is your survival pantry. And this is where you want to keep non-perishable foods that have a very long shelf life. And I show you how to do this without having to buy any fancy dehydrated foods or expensive freeze-dried foods. Of course, if you can afford that, it's great. If you have a freeze dryer, that's great. But most of us don't. Most of us find, professionally dehydrated foods expensive. Freeze-dried foods are expensive, and most of us don't have a freeze dryer. So what I've done in that video, and I also have a download for you, again free, no email required, where I show you all of the foods that are approved, in essence, by the U.S. Department of Agriculture here in the United States, but this can also be helpful to people no matter what country you live in, that are considered, in essence, to be forever foods, foods that will last indefinitely. Now, may they lose some of their nutrition, may they degrade a little bit in their quality? Yes, but the U.S. Department of Agriculture tells us that these foods never go bad. So these are the foods that I walk you through. Again, I have a curated playlist because I do have multiple videos about the survival pantry. And I show you what to stock, how to store it. You're going to be in great shape, and you're not going to have anything to worry about in the event that we fell upon extremely hard times. God willing, hopefully that'll never happen, but I'm always a firm believer in being prepared. You know, what do they say? Chance favors the prepared. We never know what may be coming down the pike. We never know what the world situation may hold. And being prepared will always save the day. So sub-pantry number 3, the survival pantry. The 4th sub-pantry of your extended or prepper pantry is your healing pantry. And again, I have a curated group of videos for you in a playlist where I share a lot of detailed information about the healing pantry and how to stock the healing pantry. And I also have a whole host of free downloads and printable recipes, and I'll explain why now I'm saying recipes. Your healing pantry is where you want to keep all of the little bits and bobs of ingredients that you need to make your natural remedies, your home remedies. Because sometimes these things cannot be easy to find when you're ready to make a particular home remedy. One that I share with you in a video that I released a few weeks ago is beeswax. Beeswax is not always easy to find when you need it, and it comes in handy for making various home remedies, especially salves, healing salves. And I have a download, again free, no email required, where I go through all of the supplies that I recommend that you keep in your healing pantry, from beeswax to dried herbs to the various dried spices that I also recommend keeping on hand, as well as the different vessels and vials and so on and so forth that you need for storing the various remedies that you make. Then within the healing pantry, I kind of even drill down farther and I talk about how to stock your medicinal herb cabinet or your medicinal herbal cabinet. And in essence, this is like a little corner of the sub-healing pantry, a sub-sub pantry. But now this may be you may keep these things with all of your supplies, or you may have them in different areas in your home. They may be in a medicine cabinet in your bathroom. They may be in your refrigerator if they need refrigeration. But I go into a lot of detail talking about the medicinal herbal cabinet. And this is basically all of the home remedies that you have made and where you keep them. And I have detailed videos. I have master recipes for making herbal and natural remedies. And they will all be in this curated healing pantry playlist. I show you how to make various herbal teas. I show you how to make herbal oils, along with how to make herbal salves. I show you how to make homemade cough medicines, a whole host of things, special herbal soups that are incredibly comforting and healing for a whole host of maladies. And I also explain the cautions involved whenever you're making home remedies and whenever you're working with herbs, and how you always want to check with your healthcare professional, whether it's a medical doctor or a naturopath or a family nurse practitioner, or whomever you use to help you with your various maladies, so to speak. But these are all things that you can make that treat the various day-to-day problems that we as traditional foods cooks, just sort of running our homes, are often faced with. Scrapes and colds and sore throats and coughs. These just day-to-day problems that often don't involve us running to the doctor. But always check with whomever your medical professional is, and especially in situations, and I've shared this in other videos, but especially in situations where you may be pregnant, or you're thinking of using these things with children, or you have allergies. I've done videos on this. You need to be very careful when you're working with herbs if you have allergies, especially those that are related to hay fever, because things like chamomile can actually cause you to become a little inflamed as opposed to calming you down. So those are things that you want to think about. Also, too, you want to always keep in mind what other medications or other natural remedies you may be using, whether these are prescription or over-the-counter or homemade. It's very important to learn about all of these things and keep all of this in mind whenever you're using natural remedies. And I know I've shared this with you before, and many of you have shouted out back to me that you love these books. When it comes to learning about herbs and educating yourself about home remedies, you can never go wrong with any of the books that Rosemary Gladstar publishes. And in addition to that, I also want to mention my friend Heidi, who has the website, and she also has a YouTube channel. Her website is the School of Botanical Skills, and she is a wealth of knowledge for learning how to make various home remedies. And I believe she was even trained by Rosemary Gladstar. But I will be sure to put a link to her website in the description below. She shares a lot of information for free on her YouTube channel. She also has courses, and she's so sweet to always give a discount to my viewers. And I'll have all of that information in the description below. But I've just got my, if you saw the thumbnail, I've got my little page here. This is also available if you just want to print this out and tack it up somewhere. But this is the overview of the Four Corners Pantry. And if you want to learn more, and if you want to view all those curated playlists, check the description below, and also click on this playlist here, where I have a whole host of information all about the Four Corners Pantry, all the corners, including all the sub-pantries of the extended pantry. And I'll see you over there in my Texas Hill Country kitchen. Love and God bless.